Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. Park and Ride bus service will commence today. The Consumer Affairs Authority requests the general public not to stockpile paddy at homes. The Premier says latest LP gas shipment to be distributed on priority basis. Representatives from Lazard Clifford Chance arrive in Sri Lanka. A dengue control week has been declared in the Western Province. Fridays to be declared holidays for public sector for 3 months. In foreign news, people in Pakistan urged to drink fewer cups of tea. In sports, Australia beat Sri Lanka by 2 wickets in the first ODI. Local news in detail. The Ministry of Transport informs that the Sri Lanka Transport Board will once again commence the Park and Ride bus service daily from today. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said the buses will function between 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. from Markumbura, Kadawatha and Katubadda and will return to the locations between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. The minister said the public can securely leave their vehicles and leave for Colombo. He claimed that buses will leave the destinations every 10 minutes in the morning and when returning, buses will depart every 15 minutes from Colombo. He noted that private buses will be part of the Park and Ride service. The Consumer Affairs Authority urges the public to refrain from buying and storing paddy or rice unnecessarily. This will help to put an end to the rice mafia. The Consumer Affairs Authority assured that there is enough rice in the country and that the mill owners are trying to hide the rice due to the Rice Price Control Gazette. To prevent this, the Consumer Affairs Authority has been conducting raids countrywide and enforcing the law against all traders who sell and hide rice illegally. The CAA points out that if people unnecessarily store rice, it will allow the rice mafia to thrive and, on the other hand, the poor will face an artificial shortage of rice. The authority recalled that when such a price control was gazetted last year, there was an artificial shortage of rice, and as soon as the regulations were lifted, ample stocks could be seen in the market. The authority says that the rice mafia is working to create such a situation this time as well, and is planning to increase the price of a kilogram of rice by spreading various false propaganda. Priority in the distribution of the latest shipment of 3,500 metric tons of LP gas will be given to hospitals, hotels and crematoriums, says Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The payment for this LP gas shipment was made yesterday and it is currently being unloaded. Unloading of a consignment of 3,600 metric tons of LP gas began yesterday after the balance payment of $2.5 million was settled. The LP gas tanker was anchored for over 6 days off Thaldiyawatta coast in Kerawalapitiya as the balance payment was delayed. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. Continuing with more local stories. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the representatives from the financial and legal advisory firms Lazard and Clifford Chance hired by Sri Lanka for debts restructuring arrived in the island yesterday. Sri Lanka hired the heavyweight financial and legal advisors Lazard and Clifford Chance as it prepares for the difficult task of renegotiating its debts. Health Entomological Officers Association President Najit Sumanasena said yesterday that a dengue epidemic has spread across the country, with the Beto index measuring mosquito densities exceeding 20. He said that although the index was planned to be kept below 5, the World Health Organization had prescribed that it should be kept at less than 2. He said that with the increase in the number of mosquitoes that spread the dengue virus in the environment these days, the number of dengue cases has also increased. He said that a high dengue epidemic had spread in the country in 2017. He said that the dengue epidemic usually occurs every 5 years and that an outbreak would occur in 2022. The government has declared a dengue control week in the Western Province starting from today to control the spread of the disease. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Cabinet of Ministers has given the approval to the proposal to declare Fridays as holidays for public sector employees from this week due to prevailing transportation difficulties. According to Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, this will not include the essential services including health, power and energy, education, water, electricity, transport, port and air services and defence. Further, it was decided to provide the government officials with necessary facilities to engage in agricultural activities in their backyards or elsewhere as a solution to the looming food shortage.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On Watchlight, the Water Supply and Drainage Board announced that a water cut is to take place today due to the repair work of the plumbing system in 31/3 bridge in Yakkala on the Colombo Kandy Road. Accordingly, the water supply will be suspended from 2 p.m. today to 6 a.m. tomorrow. Hence, the water supply to the areas from Miriswata Junction on the Colombo Kandy Road to Alutkama Bogamo Road will be suspended. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to world news headlines. U.S. aircrew cleared in a review of deadly incident during flight from Kabul. Rwanda asylum flight cancelled after legal action. People in Pakistan urged to drink fewer cups of tea. World news in detail. The U.S. Air Force crew that took off from an Afghan airport last year while civilians swarmed their plane acted appropriately, an inquiry has found. People were seen running alongside the Air Force plane in August 2021 as it left the airport, some clinging to its side during the chaotic U.S. withdrawal. Human remains were found in the plane's wheel well after it landed in Qatar. But an incident review by the military said the crew was in compliance with regulations. The spokeswoman for the Air Force's Office of Special Investigations said on Monday that the flight crew had been cleared after a nearly 10-month investigation. The first flight scheduled to take asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda on Tuesday has been cancelled after a last-minute legal battle. Up to 7 people had been expected to be removed to the East African country, but the flight was stopped after an intervention from the European Court of Human Rights. Home Secretary Preeti Patel said she was disappointed but would not be deterred, and the preparation for the next flight begins now. The cancellation of the flight followed a UK court saying it could go ahead and came after a series of legal challenges in Britain failed. Finally, on world news, people in Pakistan have been asked to reduce the amount of tea they drink to keep the country's economy afloat. Sipping fewer cups a day would cut Pakistan's high import bills, Senior Minister Ahsan Iqbal said. The country's low foreign currency reserves, currently enough for fewer than 2 months of all imports, have left it in urgent need of funds. Pakistan is the world's largest importer of tea, buying in more than $600 million worth last year. Business traders could also close their market stalls at 8:30 to save electricity, he suggested. That's on world news. Moving on to development news. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority says it expects to attract around 800,000 tourists in 2022 with an estimated revenue of $800 million. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in discussions with stakeholders of the tourism sector today at the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister instructed officials to prepare a plan to attract tourists from India for the next 6 months. The Premier also requested relevant authorities to make arrangements for the resumption of operations of the Palali airport.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
In sports news, Australia beat Sri Lanka by 2 wickets in the first ODI against Sri Lanka. Batting first, Sri Lanka scored 300 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at their allotted 50 overs. Kusal Mendis hit 86 runs, not out. All 3 top-order batsmen were able to score half-centuries for Sri Lanka, while Wanindu Hasaranga scored a magnificent 37 runs in 19 balls. In reply, Australia were given a target score of 282 runs in Duckworth and Lewis method as the match was delayed by rain. Kangaroos were able to hit the target score with 9 balls remaining. Glenn Maxwell scored 80 runs and Stephen Smith hit 53 runs. Wanindu Hasaranga took 4 wickets. Glenn Maxwell was adjudged as the man of the match.
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And in business news, UK airlines have been told to cancel flights they can't deliver this summer to stop a return of May's travel chaos. The government and the aviation regulator wrote to carriers on Tuesday telling them to ensure their summer timetables were deliverable. They added that earlier cancellations were better than axing flights at the last minute. It comes after tens of thousands of passengers have been affected by cancellations and delays at airports. The problem was particularly bad during Easter and last month's half-term school holiday, and British Airways, TUI and EasyJet have apologized.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
And on economic news, the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority says it expects to attract around 800,000 tourists in 2022 with an estimated revenue of $800 million. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in discussions with stakeholders of the tourism sector yesterday at the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister instructed officials to prepare a plan to attract tourists from India for the next 6 months.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
And on the weather update, the Department of Meteorology forecast evening thunder showers in the over, eastern and north central provinces are expected to enhance. Several spells of showers will occur in the western Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the over, eastern, central and north central provinces and in the Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts during the afternoon or night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters may occur at some places in these areas. That's the weather update, and back to the headlines. Park and Ride bus service will commence today. The Consumer Affairs Authority requests the general public not to stockpile paddy at homes. The Premier says latest LP gas shipment to be distributed on priority basis. Representatives from Lazard Clifford Chance arrive in Sri Lanka. A dengue control week has been declared in the Western Province. Fridays to be declared holidays for public sector for 3 months. In foreign news, people in Pakistan urged to drink fewer cups of tea. In sports, Australia beat Sri Lanka by 2 wickets in the first ODI. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news, and it's back to Sonal this morning to give you some good company.